Hello, Editing Christina here. I wanted to hop on camera before I jump into my vintage postage stamp collection, or all of my postage stamps actually, just to say hello. This is actually where I sit when I'm editing videos. This is my office behind me, mostly all sewing, let's see which side, sewing stuff over here. But in today's video, I'm going to be showing you all of my postage stamps. The month of January 2023 is all about mail art and mailing cards and things like that. That's what I'm focusing on for the month. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing a walkthrough of all of my postage stamps. So I've amassed quite a few over the years since I've been doing mail art. I am obsessed with postage stamps. So you're going to see that, and there's a lot of them. I'm just warning you, this video is real long. While I flip through all of my albums, I'm going to be sharing with you where I buy my postage stamps, how I've acquired so many vintage ones, things like that. I've even got tips for when you're ordering stamps from the USPS online, because I've learned a few things as I've started collecting these stamps. And here we go. You'll notice that this video is pixelated. It is not your device you're watching on. I'm sitting at my computer. This is my webcam. You're basically watching Zoom right now. But in a minute here, we're going to switch to the good quality video, and you'll be able to see all of my stamps. So here we go. So this is where my postage stamps have resided until recently. They're in the shelf that's normally behind me right here, right? I'm going to take these down, take them to my craft room, and kind of flip through them with all of you. Now, I have quite a few of these albums. I started out with just the larger red ones, and then I've added the thinner black ones as I've gone along. But these are basically postage stamp albums. And you'll see when I get into them and open them up that there are slots that you can save all of your stamps inside. I find that these are just really great. I used to use like page protectors like you would for a scrapbook. I've used that in the past, but these albums that are made specifically for postage stamps just work a little bit better for me because I can get the stamps in and out really quickly. I'm going to start with this album that I've labeled current, which I really should relabel it. It's really just forever stamps. They're not. At the beginning of this album, you can see these are actually vintage stamps. The first few pages are some vintage stamps that I have. But after the first few pages here, I'm going to get into all forever stamps. So when I buy new stamps from the post office, I put them all together. The only ones that I sort of pull out, and first let's stop here and look at these. Aren't these cool? This settlement at Jamestown, they're triangles. You put them up in the corner of your envelope. I thought that was just so neat. Okay, so I'm going to flip over and we're going to get into the forever stamps. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar or haven't really looked into it, forever stamps are something that the United States Postal Service came out with years ago, where when you buy your forever stamps, you pay the current first class postage rate. So some of these stamps that I bought, some of the older forever stamps, I actually purchased them when they were probably like 52 or 51 cents a piece. Now forever stamps are selling for 60 cents a piece. So if you buy forever stamps, you actually can save a little bit of money when you buy them and then save them and use them later. So that's why I love having lots of forever stamps, because they retain their value. They're always going to be the first class postage rate. So some of these that I bought, for 52, 53 cents are actually worth 60 cents now. They've made money. If I wanted to sell these, I would sell them for 60 cents a piece because that's what they're worth now. I'm going to set those Disney villains aside because I have a special area for all my Disney stamps. This is one of my favorite spreads. I love like pop culture type stamps. You'll see quite a few as we go through here. So the forever stamps, I keep them all together because when I do mail art, I always make sure to have at least one forever stamp. That's generally going to ensure that my mail envelope or whatever I've created will get to its recipient. So that's one that I like to include on every envelope. It's also a really great way to like get a large, what's the word? Like if I need like $1.25 to send a thicker card or a larger piece of mail, 2 of these stamps, which are 60 cents, valued at 60 cents right now, 2 Forever stamps, and then a 5-cent would do it. So it's just an easier way. It's kind of like, if you think of it almost like a currency, it's just a larger amount or larger value of currency. So it's using a $20 bill versus a $5 bill, basically. But they both have retained their value, if that makes sense. Anyway, so I'm flipping through. I'm showing you all these postage stamps. This is my first album of all Forever stamps. Oh, look at this spread here. Okay. These are Oscar de la Renta Forever stamps. I bought one sheet of them before I really started collecting, and then I went back and I found them online and bought even more because I love them so much. Same with these Harry Potter ones. I used all the Harry Potter ones. When I sent in my taxes one year, I put the Voldemort stamp on it. Sorry, IRS. So those John Lennon ones up there, only bought one sheet, started using them all, got nervous, ended up going back and buying a second sheet. Now when I order stamps and buy stamps that I know I'm going to use a lot, I actually just buy 2 sheets because I have one as a backup and then one that I'll use. So that's kind of my method right now. I also love lighthouses, or not so much me, my mom does. So I've been collecting lighthouse stamps. So anyway, let's answer some of the questions. So where do you get your stamps? I buy most of my stamps directly from the post office now. I don't go into my local post office because most local locations for your post office will only have just a select few of the stamps that the Postal Service actually sells. If you order them online, you can see the entire collection of whatever they have in stock that they can sell. So sometimes you'll have a particularly popular design that comes out, but it will stay in circulation and they will be selling it for multiple years. For example, there are some holiday stamps, some Christmas postage stamps that came out in 2021. That's like, over a year ago. And they're still selling them because they have them. So sometimes you can catch some of the older designs online. But for the most part, they're not going to stick around for much longer than maybe a year. I think after about a year, they're retired and you can no longer get them and you're going to have to go to vintage postage stamp sources. Speaking of, there are a few different vintage postage stamp places that I like to buy from. If you go over to etsy.com, and you search for vintage postage stamps unused, make sure you use the term unused, you will probably have quite a few stores pop up. And the thing that's really fun about looking for postage stamps at Etsy in particular is that a lot of these sellers will curate the stamps into groupings that total the amount that you need for first class postage. So right now you need 60 cents. That's how much you'd pay for one Forever stamp. So you need 60 cents for a 1 ounce letter. That's what you'll be sending in the mail. You need 60 cents worth of postage. So they will actually go through hundreds and hundreds of vintage postage stamps, and they will curate them for how they look with color or theme or something like that. And then they will sell them as sets. So some of my favorite stamps that I found were curated like that. And then I went back and I bought individuals of the stamps that I loved. So for example, over at Etsy, there will be a lot of sellers who curate collections of postage stamps themed around love and weddings. A lot of people, when they send mail, it's mostly for wedding announcements or things like that, bridal showers, engagement parties. So there's a lot of interest for something like that. I'm moving on to my second large red album with more Forever stamps. So you'll find a lot of curated collections over at Etsy, and a lot of those sellers will also sell individual stamps, but they most of the time won't sell just one. They'll sell like 5 of the same stamp. So I kind of like that because if I'm going to spend the time to find a postage stamp that I really love, I'm probably going to want to have multiples of it so that I can use one and save some for later, something like that. So Etsy is a really great source. I also like, I think it's called Mystic Stamp Company. They sell vintage stamps, and a lot of their stamps, I think they're actually geared more toward collectors who don't plan on using the stamps. I should have actually prefaced that at the very beginning of this video. I am not a collector just to collect the stamps. I am a collector in the sense that I'm going to use these stamps on mail art. So I'm sure there are people out there like me that do this, but I am not your regular stamp collector. Most stamp collectors will buy a full sheet of any particular design and just hold on to it. They will not use it. They won't take it apart, nothing. They're going to keep it as is. And when you find stamp collections that you can purchase, like maybe it's just a lot of stamps. Now, I don't mean like a lot, like there's many of them, but like there's a grouping of stamps that someone has collected. Maybe they've inherited some stamps from an elderly relative's collection, something like that. You're not going to get like multiples and multiples of lots of stamps when they're like that. Speaking of, that kind of leads me right into the answer for my next question. And this is a great time to do it because we're going to start seeing some vintage stamps. This is one of my smaller albums. This is Love, Rainbows, all that. The beginning of this album is all love, kind of hearts, kind of themes like that. Flowers, kind of wedding type things. And then I'm going to get into Rainbow, which is basically just really colorful stamps. And then we're going to get to the Disney stuff, which is really fun. So a lot of my vintage stamps that I have in my collection, and we're not quite to the big area of lots of vintage stamps yet. Most of these are forever stamps still. But most of my vintage stamps that I have amassed were actually given to me as gifts. Some of them are actually from YouTube viewers. They have seen me do mail art on videos, and they inherit some postage stamps from a relative, and they don't know what to do with the stamps. They're not going to use them. They want them to go to a good place. And they email me and say, hey, do you want them? And I say, yes, can I pay you for them? Most of the time, they're very, very kind and send them to me without payment. They just want them to go somewhere where they'll be used. And I'm so, so grateful when they do that. I love to see all these postage stamps, and I love to use them. I just think they're so amazing. Here's one of my favorites, that kind of Love World. I think I've rebought that one like 3 or 4 times. I'm going to have to buy some more. Well, I've only got 3 left. But I am so grateful that so many of you have sent those loved postage stamp collections to me to put into my collection. So here are my Disney stamps. Most of these I searched for online. I searched for them. I found them. I bought them. Here's this other set. Look at this. The ones that I'll use are the cat ones. It just makes me laugh. I'm going to pull some of these out because I have more Disney stamps that I want to put in here, and I just needed a place to put them, and some of them just aren't in the right spot. These ones in the back, I need to go through these albums. I haven't reorganized them in quite some time. I need to reorganize them a little bit. So like I said, I do have some Disney stamps to put in here. So I've got some of the new Buzz Lightyear stamps. Now these are still available. You can still buy them at USPS.com. They kind of coincided with the release of the Lightyear movie earlier this year, or last year, I should say. It was in 2022. So I bought quite a few of those just to have on hand. And then I've got these Disney villains that I've got to find a new spot for. I'm going to put them in the back. But I just love Disney because they're so colorful, and I like to kind of group things together kind of based on the color of my mail art. So I really like to use these Disney stamps. So I'm going to put those in the back of this postage album. And then we're going to move on to another smaller one. And this one has brown, black, and white, and holiday. Mostly it's just brown. These are all vintage stamps. And then I'm going to get into the holiday stamps. So, like I said, I am so grateful that so many of you send me your stamps. You know I will love them. I will use them. It's so, so fun. Slight or short story as a side note here. My best friend growing up, Elizabeth, you guys might remember me talking about her when I did a Draw My Life video like so many years ago. But I told a story about my best friend growing up, Elizabeth. She's just a fantastic person. I love her. Anyway, was it a Christmas card? I can't remember. I sent her a little card in the mail and I'd put some vintage stamps on it. And she messaged me and said that her son was so excited to see the stamps because he collects stamps. And not only does he collect unused stamps, but he collects canceled stamps. So a lot of people will also collect stamps that have the canceled spot on it from the post office, which I think is kind of fun. So there are a lot of different ways that you can collect stamps. Mine are collected for being used. So that I can put them on cards and whatnot. Those Rudolph stamps right there, by the way, that are on screen, apparently those are like worth a lot of money. And those were gifted to me by one of you guys. So thank you. That's amazing. So lots and lots of Christmas stamps. Did I count how many Christmas cards I sent this year? I think I sent like 115 Christmas cards, and they were thick, they were big. I had to put multiple stamps on each one. So I went through a lot of stamps, a lot of holiday stamps this last holiday season, and I'm going to have to purchase a lot more. This is just, mental notes. Next year when the new postage stamps come out, I need to buy more than maybe just, 5 booklets. I need to buy multiples. Those hockey ones are so fun up there too. These were the ones that came out this year that I really, really loved with these elves. So cute. I think I've got, like 3 of those booklets left. I actually think I just bought like 6 more. I learned my lesson. I just went through all of those holiday stamps like water. So here in the back, I love those mailboxes. I've got lots of them. But also there's this sheet that has United States flags on them. All the different flags from every single state. I can't bear to break this up and use it because it has all 50 states. So I've just kept it, and it's in the back here. It's even got the little zippy guide down the bottom corner. So fun. I'm going to put that back in there. And then we're going to go on to, I think we're to my very last album. I do have one completely empty album. I'm not going to show you that one. But this is the one that's really fun. Everything's organized by color and in rainbow order. So we're starting out with red right at the beginning. So when I was sorting all of these vintage stamps, I just put them all out like, this was hours and days worth of organizing, but I just put them all out and I started sorting them into piles. Okay, mostly red, mostly orange, mostly yellow, until I had them kind of put out into Roy-G Biv. And then I started putting them in my album. Now, you'll notice as I flip through this album that there are a few pages in here that are not in the right color family. So you're going to see that I'm transitioning into orange. I think we're even going to go into yellow right here. And then we're suddenly going to have a page of red. And it's mostly because I just didn't have enough space and I'd already put a bunch in. So there are some odd pages here or there that don't really fit within this rainbow order. But some of these stamps are just my favorite that I use them all the time. So here's that red page. Just found a bunch of red stamps. Had to put them in somewhere. So we're going into green. There's quite a few pages here in this green section that I just love. All the greenery, like the forest, wildlife stuff. I think it's just beautiful. And I really love like that Thomas Jefferson 1-cent stamp. I think it's just so cool. The really old vintage stamps that are all one color, love those. They're so easy to use and they're great for putting like a collection of colorful stamps together. It's so, so fun. Those gems at the bottom, on the bottom row of that orange, love that one. Okay, these Mississippi ones up here at the top, I have gone through so many of those. I also love that Beautiful Highways one. Those are right below. Love those. I love these shells down here at the bottom corner. Those are actually postcard stamps. And the fish and alligator up here, love those too. I think I have a love for these vintage ones even more than the forever stamps that I have, because I mean, it's just so surprising. Okay, the Marilyn Monroe, I found those on Etsy, bought those. Same with the giraffes, so fun. Now we're getting into blue. I love these. Okay, there's some Bill of Rights ones over here. I'm about to flip up the little protective sheet. Those Bill of Rights that have the brighter blue, love those. I can't bring myself to use them. So I've also got some kind of space themed ones that I really, really love that I can't bring myself to use because I love them so much. So there's some forever stamps. Then when it's all blue or all red or one color, I'll slip them into the colorful ones too. So this spread here in the middle is a little different. I wanted to get specific ones for states. So I've got Utah at the top. I've got a bunch of states with their their birds in the middle, and then I've got Ohio at the bottom. That's because I send a lot of cards to my friends in Ohio, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to include an Ohio stamp. And then I live in Utah, so it's kind of fun to just have those Utah stamps to put on there as well. So if you're thinking about what types of vintage stamps you might want to get, look up ones for your specific state. I think that's really fun because then you can find stamps that, mean something to you, or if you have loved ones in any particular area, that's always really fun too. Okay, these first Man on the Moon stamps, so many of them, love them. Oh, love it. Okay, butterflies generally are forever stamps, and they're specified for non-machinable. So if you have a really bumpy card you want to send, that's a great stamp to use. Okay, coming into purple, the purples into pinks. Love this section. I think I'm going to have to do a little shopping online to find some more because I use a lot of purple and pink. Turns out these Utah stamps are purple. So that really worked out well. Okay, got to show you these right here. I've got to find more of these because it's just right up our alley. Look at this. Letters preserve memories. P.S. Write soon. Isn't that just so fun? I love that. I want to put that on so many cards. So fun. I also really love these forget-me-nots, these purple ones with the violets. So fun. Okay, here's one of my favorites. Edgar Allan Poe with this like red violet shade. So cool. I love this one. I've used it on a lot of mail art. You'll see that over and over again. That's why I have so many of that particular stamp. I love it. I also love these Elvis ones up here. I used one of those on an envelope last week, and I got so many comments on it. I love that Elvis stamp. That's a really great one. Okay, so the flamingo right there, love. I just love this pink section. Okay, so now we're going to get into more red, white, and blue. I didn't know where to put all of these, put them in blue, put them in red. I don't know. So I just have a whole section that's much more patriotic. So lots of red, white, and blue. I think I want to do some mail art that's all like themed around the 4th of July at some point. I think that'd be really, really fun, right? That'd be cool. And I could use a bunch of these old vintage stamps. Okay, here's black and white. I do have that other album that was meant for black and white, but I moved them all over here. And this airmail one right here, that's 10 cents. I have lots of these. It's one of my favorites because it's so great to just put on. It matches anything, but it's worth 10 cents. Most of the vintage stamps are like 3, 2 cent, they're really small, but that's a 10 cent, so it's great. Also those Robert Frost ones, those are awesome too, and they're 10 cents. And then over here in the black and white section, I have all of these ballet dancers. So fun. I love that. Okay, and then back here at the back, I've got a bunch of these cat vintage stamps. Aren't they so fun? I have to show one because it has the American short hair on it. Now, my two cats, Sophie and Daphne, are American short hair cats. So I've got to show you this up close. Aren't they cute? I love those. Also, the Maine Coon. My brother has a Maine Coon cat. So those are just super fun. So I'm nearing the end of this album. Just got a few more of these patriotic stamps in the back. And then I think that is it. Those are all of my postage stamps. I will have links down below so you guys can kind of see where to buy all this stuff. Etsy, you can check eBay. I really go to USPS.com quite a bit. In fact, they have a lot of really gift items that you can get to, which is really, really fun. They've got t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, framed art, things like that. Interestingly, did you guys hear that? I have a neighbor's car that's going off. Interestingly, the post office doesn't make a whole lot of money from actual mailing items. A lot of the money that they make is from selling gift items. So don't be shy. Go get your gifts at the USPS.com. Thanks for joining me today. I'll be back on Wednesday with more card inspiration for you. Or actually, I think we're going to be talking about, what am I doing here? Got to look at my list here. We're going to be talking about envelopes. We're going to be talking about envelopes on Wednesday. So come back for that. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you guys in another video very, very soon. Thanks for watching.